Hey everybody, it's Allie, and today I am sharing with you a project that I created using some of the stamps that are coming with our new travel collection. We've got a new release date for you, which is going to be Wednesday of this week, which is the 30th of July, and then this collection will ship next week. That's what's happening. All right, so I'm going to use a couple different stamps in this project. One of the ones I was most excited about, one of the stamps I was most excited about is this film strip stamp. And so what I am doing and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to experiment with was stamping on the back of a pattern paper. This is a pattern paper from our Collect story kit. This is actually one that there are a few physical kits left in the shop. If you are looking for some of those past story kits, this one is available in there. So that's where the pattern paper came from. This story here, I'm going to be documenting a little bit of a vacation that Anna took recently with friends to the East Coast, and friends and family friends. And so one of the things that I did first was measure the inside of those film strips to know what size my photo was going to be. So I think it's 1.75 by 2.75, something close to that. And I was getting these photos from Anna while she was on the trip, and or the parent that was with them. She was actually sending me a bunch of the photos, so that's partly why I was able to work on this in a time frame. She just came back last week, so it's kind of fun to work on it actually while she was there. After I got some of these photos, I sent her a message and I said, or sent her a text message and was like, can you send me 5 things you're loving about this trip? And then I can add it into my project. And so you'll see that later on here during the process. So one of my intents with this particular project was to use stamps. And a lot of times for me, when I approach a project with the intent to use the stamps, obviously I get more use out of my stamps. One of the things I considered doing here was actually stamping with StazOn on top of a transparency and creating some sort of a flip up or something related to that. So I'm going to stamp that on here. I decided to go in a different direction, but I left it in just so you guys could see just kind of the idea of like, you know, stamping on top of there, maybe stitching it, maybe doing something where it would flip up or create a little pocket or something. But like I said, I went in a different direction. So with this next stamp set, then I'm going to use the filled in tag on the top. I could have used the outline because as you'll see, I'm actually just going to use the top half of it. So the one that's outlined with the one that has the top half on it, that would work as well. I'm using our Olympia ink there, and I'm going to stamp 4 of these, and they're going to become like a little label / accent embellishment on top of my photo. So that's one of the things that I like stamps for, right, is creating actual embellishments. So I'm going to stamp Remember This on each one of these, and then these are what are going to get cut out and then added onto my photos for this first page. You can see I've got a second page there that's a full page photo, and so I'm going to be doing some stamping to create an embellishment for that as well. So these are all things that I'm creating just using the stamps this time, but different pieces from the travel collection could absolutely be used for a project like this too. So now I'm looking at another one of the stamp sets. We've got 4 different stamp sets. There are 2 6x8s and 2 4x6s. I think I'm using all of them except one of them, or maybe I do use all of them in here. All right, so I'm using the bigger ticket shape here. I'm going to use the same color ink that I was using on the other one, and this is going to become the title embellishment on the main full page photo there. And I'm going to use the small alphabet stamp to stamp on the top here EUG, which is for where we live, Eugene to Philadelphia, which is where they flew to. So using the stamp set, the alpha stamp set, as a fun little embellishment creator to customize it, right? To have it be custom to where they were going. So I'm going to stamp that on there, and then I'm going to cut it out, and I decided to stitch it down on top as well. So that's something that will happen. I'm just going to do a straight line stitch right across the top to get that added onto the page. And you can see that I'm just hand cutting it out there from the actual stamping part. I considered punching out the whole portion there, like on the edges, but then I didn't because I didn't want to hand cut that, and I figured it was just fine. And I knew that I was going to stitch through the middle of it anyway as well. All right, so continuing to hand cut out these guys. Again, I'm going to do all 4 of these the same. So I've got a nice little repetition of embellishment treatment on top of each of my photos. Going to temporarily adhere this on top. One of the things that came up as I was working on this project was the reminder that that full page photo could be on either side. I think I end up having it be the left-hand page rather than the right-hand page. It doesn't really matter. Just something to think about. Sometimes when I'm working on a page like this, I know for sure that one of them is going to be the first page and one will be the second page. And then other times I'm just kind of playing around and waiting until the end to see what's going to happen. So these guys, I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers hole punch to punch a little hole in the portion of the tag or the inside of the tag there. And then I'm going to run these through the sewing machine too. So with just the little combination of the stamped embellishment and the photo itself is what's going to get run through the sewing machine. You could use brads in those little holes or add twine or something else. I actually just decided to leave them blank this time. I kind of liked how they look, just like with the little hole on the top. So I'm temporarily adhering them down, and then, like I said, I'll run them through the sewing machine using the same green, I think it's a green that I have on there right now that you can see on that full page photo as well. All right, what other things can I tell you about this one? I'm going to be using foam adhesive. There you go, you can see the stitching. So I just ran it right through the top there. And then I'll be using foam adhesive to adhere those down onto the background. Sometimes I just use rolling adhesive, but a lot of times these foam adhesive, I like this foam adhesive. It's pretty thin. It's not a super thick one, so they're not getting stuck really far up off the page, but just enough to add a little bit of dimension there. So sticking that down, and then this is where I was waiting. Then I got a text back from Anna where she listed the 5 things, and then what I did was I looked in my stash of 3x8 pattern papers. These are from, I think, Story Kits. We did that, maybe Stories by the Month. We did that for a while, where we made the 3x8 papers, and so I had one that had 5 spots on it because I do lots of 3s and 5s for lists sort of things. So it had 5 on there, so I was able to handwrite the little memories that she sent me, which included early morning Bible study with her friends, boogie boarding, the town where they were, which was, I believe it's called Long Beach Island, dressing up every day. I thought that was cute, and then probably something about just being with her best friends there. So what I'm doing right now is I wanted to create an additional border. I've been thinking a lot about borders, especially for page inserts. I often use Avery index tabs, or I'll use ribbon or pom-pom ribbon. Sometimes I've used scalloped edges when I'm doing an edge like that, but I love the idea of it being the film strip edge. And so I stamped that, and I'm going to do it again here in just a minute, so in case you missed it, and then I ran it through the sewing machine with the stitching. After I did that, then I decided I really liked the look of that, so I wanted to do another one down the other edge. So for this particular pattern paper, I'm going to trim off a little bit of the edge there. You can see that I had left, in the original design of the paper, I had left a margin on there where you could punch the holes if you wanted to add it into your album that way. But in this case, I'm not going to be using that, so I'll be trimming that off so it has the same margin width as the other side. And then there you can see this is how I'm stamping creating this border, or this, what am I trying to say? You guys know, the stamped piece that's going to go along the outside edge of this. There we go. All right. So I'm going to trim that down just a little bit, like I said, so it measures the same. I'm going to adhere that down on the back, and then I'm going to run it through the sewing machine. I love the repetition of that film strip look. That is just something that I've long liked. I love the black and white too. That's something else. It might actually would be fun to kind of play around with some colors with that too. So maybe I'll do that in an upcoming project. And then I ran it through the sewing machine. And then the next thing that I did was I texted Anna and I said, do you have another photo of you or another photo from this trip that's a vertical photo, that's a really strong vertical? Because I was thinking that I would like to add something to the back of this. And I could have just done, a pattern paper with an embellishment, but I was hoping that maybe she would have another photo. I'm adhering this to a page attacher It's going to go right into the album then I don't have to punch holes into the page itself. And then I just measured the back. It ended up being, I think it's about 4¼ by 8¼ What I did was in Photoshop, I took a photo that she sent and then I paired it with a screenshot from Life 360 on my phone, which shows where she was at and where I was at. And I thought that was kind of fun. So if you have kids and you use Life 360, this is kind of a fun way to document where they are and where you are at certain points in time. I think that's kind of a fun way, and you could do that really for anyone in your family if you have them connected to your phone. And okay, so then I need to do a little bit of trimming along the edge, which is often what I need to do with my X-Acto knife. And I think I'm going to do a Avery Index tab as well along that outside edge and repeat that remember this. Yeah, there we go. That's what I thought. There's the Avery Index tab. I'm going to stamp remember this on there and do it on both of them and then slip that inside the Avery Index tab. I'm also going to add a little embellishment onto the back. On my table right now is a chipboard embellishment from, I think, Week in the Life. So I'm going to add one of those on there, and then I will be doing the date stamp, as you will see in just a minute. There's my metal ruler and my X-Acto to trim off any of the little extra that ends up being on there, because things are not exactly the same size, which is fine. All right, so there's that little chipboard piece I'm going to add on there. And then, like I said, I'm going to use the rolling date stamp, which we do now have in the shop as well. Add that on there as well so that we make sure we have the date. Yeah, I really like how this one turned out. I think it was a fun way to play around with the stamps, fun way to get another story told, and to use a little bit of my stash too. So diving into my stash for some of those pattern papers there. As always, let me know if you guys have questions in the comments below.